Hi friends! Today is April 3rd and it is 4:32 p.m. on Wednesday. And I have had the most fabulous day today, and we are catching up from yesterday since I was going to record this big Save the Corals video yesterday. And then we had guests come over, so I was taken for approximately 5 hours and was therefore unable to record the ever exciting, so seeked after, long awaited, especially by me, episode. So, trying to think of if we should start with that or if I should tell you about my fantastic day. I think I should tell you about my fantastic day first while it's fresh in my mind, and then I can tell you about this stuff because this has been on my mind for so long and it's written on the walls, baby. So, my day. Okay, so, this morning I went to my stepdad's company to grab some of our mail and whatnot, and I brought our coral postcards to show everyone, and okay, I'll show you. I'll show you first. Okay, so I made these coral postcards, and there are more to come, but I'm doing a lot, as you can see. So I time block, and I was only able to fit 3 in this time block, which actually you can see from my video from like 2 weeks ago probably, where I was gonna make 20 postcards. And it would be so sick to do that. In due time. However, yeah, so these are the first 3 in the series. Okay, so take a look at this. It's Coral Corner. How cool is that? I'm so obsessed with that. This is like my favorite thing. And so it's this one. Coral is built by tiny, soft-bodied animals called polyps. Oh, it's probably better if I don't, because the reflection. But take a look at my poly banner. Well, we'll explain all of this. Okay. So okay, so this is the back. So I explained corals, and since I knew I wouldn't have time to make 20, and furthermore, realistically, it's like, how are you gonna display 20 and like have people like read 20? You know, like read the entire series. You know, you have to like make it a little bit more snippy. So that's what I did with this, because then I fit like, you know, most of this information in these 3 postcards, and then I still have to do the coral decline and coral bleaching postcards, which I like. I have the picture parts done, but so that's something that I would like to do before Hawaii. And cool story with that as well. Okay, and then the zooxanthellae. What makes the magic happen? Zooxanthellae. There's Polly. Rainforests of the sea, capitals of the ocean. Corals cover less than 0.1% of the ocean floor, yet they provide habitat to 25% to a quarter of all marine life. Wow. 1 in every animals in the sea is directly supported by coral. Furthermore, take a look at this. You want to know the value of coral? There you go. We may not realize it, but these tiny creatures power our entire world. They rival rainforests with the amount of oxygen they produce and carbon they fix, and they build the home for millions of ocean creatures, including fish, crabs, lobster, sea turtles. And don't forget how everything is connected. So you affect the coral, you affect everything else. But furthermore, all right, so 1 in every 4 animals in the sea inhabit coral reefs. The value of coral reefs worldwide. The most productive and biologically diverse ecosystem on the planet. They're rivaled only by rainforests, but they beat them. So the value of coral worldwide is 9.9 trillion, and the value of oil worldwide is only $3.3 trillion. So the value of coral is 3 times that of the value of oil worldwide. And they support billions of jobs in fishing, tourism, restaurants, and biomedical products. I think maybe this is the revenue part. Yeah. And they could hold the cure for many diseases. Furthermore, they provide shoreline protection, which they absorb up to 90% of wave energy, reducing billions of dollars in damage from storms and hurricanes. 500 million people worldwide are estimated to live within 100 kilometers, it's like 60 miles, of a coral reef and benefit from its production, and protection. Noah. And 1 billion people worldwide, 1/7 of the world's population, rely directly on coral reefs as their main source of food and livelihoods. And it's not warming temperatures that is completely the cause of all of this. And it mustn't be the focus. What should be? Something that should definitely at least be part of the discussion is oxybenzone. Because oxybenzone ravages entire ecosystems and absolutely destroys, devastates entire areas of entire aquatic life. So seagrass beds, sea urchins, corals, fish, algae, everything not only dies, but normally there's heavy recruitment and growth. And with this, there is only high death rates and mortality, sterility, and furthermore, if there are births, then it will lead to second generation skewed sex ratios with up to 4 times as many females as males. Can I get a girl power? I guess. So that's why we meet Polly. We also have a Meet Polly flag because I'm going to wear this as a cape when we go to Hawaii. Oh, and check this out. Do you want to learn about corals? I drew that. And so yeah, I'm going to wear this as a cape. How cool. I'm so excited. And this is a banner. Just a simple banner, I just thought I'd get one made. Yes, I'm such a geek. Oh, and my cards. savethecorals.club. Okay, but okay, so I'm going to share the most exciting news. Okay, so this is why, relating to my life lesson, I think a few days ago, why I need to do things like checking my emails, and why checking emails and communicating is good. And today was the absolute perfect example of that, because everything today was just like The proof is in the pudding. However, I checked my email yesterday and I saw that I had an email from February 28th that was from the state that Save the Corals is official. And so I've had it on my to-do list for this week to like check what's going on with that, because I was like, I feel like it's been so long, you know? And what was going on was that I just wasn't looking at my email. And so look at that. It's official. So I filed my articles of incorporation. Just making sure there's nothing. Okay. So look at that. Non-stock, not-for-profit corporation. Save the Corals. It's me. And it's official. So I'm very excited. And I was so excited to share this with you yesterday, but then we weren't able to do the video. And so I've been holding it in. However, I told the people that were here last night about it because I'm so excited. And furthermore, I'll have to like take some pictures or something, or I think maybe it's captured in the video from yesterday. But I brought all these coral postcards over and everything, and all the guys were at the bar, and I brought the coral postcards to the bar, and I was just like talking to them about the corals, and some of them were like really interested, and they're like, okay, so like tell me more. And I don't think they were egging me on, because I mean, I always think the best in people and like never realize when people are just like egging me on or whatever. But I'm pretty sure he was genuine. And he was gonna bring the coral postcards to show his wife, which is so cool. And but I was talking to the guys about it for like 2 hours. And I was just like, coral this, coral that. And then I brought my Meet Polly cards, and then one of the guys was like, who's Polly? And I was like, let me tell you who Polly is. Polly's the coral polyp. But it was very exciting. And the healer of all ailments. But another example of why going out like getting out of the house is good and like talking to people is because I was able to share poly with people and so much Aquaphor, sorry. To share Save the Corals with people, and so many people are actually interested. And it's so cool to actually be able to talk to someone who's actually interested. Because I'm usually just working away here in my little coral cove. And so it's good to get out. And future Aliz, remember this. And that brings me to this morning when I went in, I also showed people about the corals, and they were really excited, and genuinely. And one of them said that they had a really good friend who actually is very, very interested in corals. And I was just like, no way. And so I think that's one of the really cool things about the internet nowadays is how it's able to connect people with passions who otherwise wouldn't be connected. And like that's the cool thing about communicating with people, is because everyone's cool, man. Just remember that. Everyone's cool. You can leave it at that, even. But yes, that's so exciting. So now it's officially a nonprofit. So I'm so excited. And okay. So these are my articles of incorporation. Because let's be clear. However, what's funny is that on the articles of incorporation, you actually like can't be clear. You have to be really vague. And so on my first draft, it was like, I was like, Save the Corals works to educate the public about Oxybenzone, this toxic chemical that is everywhere and found in 97% of Americans and super toxic and and like I just like kind of went off because I was like, I want whoever is like reading and reviewing this to like actually kind of learn something, you know? And then I was like reading a bunch of like online things and whatnot, and it was like, don't be specific, like da da da, and like recommended to like show it to a tax person before you file. So we showed it to our tax person, and they were like, yeah, you should be like way more vague. And I was like, okay. But so this is what I said. Save the Corals works to educate the public about corals through an interesting online platform, savethecorals.club. There are grave threats to the corals that are puzzling many scientists, and here we showcase our expansive research on the most actionable threats and help the public understand what they can do to save the coral reefs. So, most actionable threats, Oxybenzone, and help the public understand what they can do to save the coral reefs. Stop using Oxybenzone. And that is honestly the biggest thing that anybody can do that's an actually tangible thing, is not using Oxybenzone and telling your friends to look at the backs of their sunscreens and make sure it doesn't have Oxybenzone. So, and it's found in the majority of sunscreens, so that's the really sorry thing about it. But you would do a massive, massive help to the corals if literally the only thing that you did was stopped using Oxybenzone. Like, just make sure that your sunscreens don't have Oxybenzone. So just like easy thing is just choose an all mineral sunscreen. Or just make sure it doesn't have Oxybenzone. And then tell your friends not to either, because it's not only bad for the corals, it's bad for absolutely everything, including you. And especially pregnant women. Like, pregnant women should not get close to Oxybenzone, yet they don't know. And they're probably putting it on themselves, and they're probably putting it on their kids, because most sprays have Oxybenzone, because it's used as a stabilizer because it's so stable. And so these parents are spraying it on their kids, not knowing that it's an endocrine disruptor. And for kids, it's so much more toxic because they're not able to break it down, and it's absorbed much faster, and it has a much more toxic effect because they're kids. They can't handle it. And especially the corals, who are absolutely drowning in it. So that's why we wrote a magazine. The Oxybenzone magazine, which you can find at savethecorals.club, CLUB, /Oxybenzone. And there you will find the Oxybenzone magazine, of which this is part 1. I will show you. So maybe we'll flip it and we can explain. Here we go. Alrighty, so this is part 1 of the Oxybenzone magazine. And you can access it online. Here, I'll show you a quick overview. our printer ran out of ink, so, but see, it's not bad. It's not just a boring paper. It's a pretty fun read. Toxic. How did this happen? Oxybenzone. The rise and fall. Back to the beginning. UVA versus UVB. FDA, 1978. 1980s. UVA, age. Enter oxybenzone and avobenzone. Sun protection timeline, ladies and gentlemen. 1990, oxybenzone was added to the high production volume challenge program for manufacturing in or importing to the U.S. chemicals more than 1 million pounds per year. But then it leads to all these terrible things. And then here's the history of use and all these studies with all these negative effects. 2008 comes, sunscreen regulations. 96.7% of Americans, of a study of 2,500 participants, ages 2,500 participants, ages 6 and older, found that an alarming 96.7% of them had detectable amounts of oxybenzone in their urine. Why is this happening? Everything about oxybenzone that makes it such a good photoprotector also makes it an endlessly toxic contaminant. And then we get to part 2, which I just published yesterday. This part of part 2. Here. 6 pages. How pretty, huh? So this explains oxybenzone's parent chemical, which is used as a photosensitizer, which is a molecule that basically triggers a chemical, that's purpose is to trigger a chemical change in another molecule by absorbing UV radiation and transferring it to other molecules. And a photoinitiator whose purpose is to create reactive species, aka free radicals. And reactive species, quote from the NIH. A type of unstable molecule that contains oxygen and that easily reacts with other molecules in a cell. A buildup of reactive oxygen species in cells may cause damage to DNA, RNA, and proteins and may cause cell death. Reactive oxygen species are free radicals. And do not forget that in 2014, benzophenones were named as Contact Allergen of the Year by the American Contact Dermatitis Society. Contact Allergen of the Year. And why is that? Because like 70% of people are allergic to it. However, in a study of participants, which we'll get to, oxybenzone was derived. So benzophenone is used to prevent photodegradation in things. Well, it's mostly used for like UV curing purposes in like the printing industry, but it's also used to prevent photodegradation, like UV damage of plastic polymers, like in plastic bottles. So who needs those anyways? And to prevent UV degradation in things like perfumes and soaps, but it's like, okay, you can use something else anyways. And then oxybenzone was created to make a lower wavelength absorbing chemical, which quickly became popular due to its stability. And so it absorbs shortwave UVB and shortwave UVA. And so it's really popular and found in 68% of sunscreens. And so chemical composition and its properties, it reacts exactly like its parent chemical. And so it also produces free radicals as a byproduct of it causing chemical reactions on your skin. Molecular weight, this is important, 228.25 Daltons. In my previous Neutrogena Helioplex video, I believe I said 226. I was slightly off, 2.25 off. I apologize. That is now corrected. I had not looked at this stuff for a few months because I was absolutely submerged in it, like corals are in Oxybenzone, for so long. And then we were fortunate enough to go on a few trips, and so I wasn't home. And then I was working on all these other things and publishing the other stuff and actual work stuff. And so I was a few Daltons off in my memory. But now that we're refreshed, 228.25 Daltons. And why is that significant? Because 500 Daltons is the typical contact allergen weight. So that's the typical weight that the molecular weight that compounds are absorbed. And so it's like half of that. So it's rapidly absorbed, aka. And anything under 500 is more likely to cause skin irritation. And 1 in 4 people develop photocontact, but okay, I'll get to that. I just get so excited. Okay, so the max in sunscreens was 10% until just a few years ago, and now countries have been decreasing it to 6%, but it was 10% universally everywhere, and in like 70% of sunscreens. So think about that. 10% of 70% of sunscreens worldwide. That's a lot. That's much more than £1 million a year. And thousands of tons of sunscreen are entering the waters just around our reefs every year. So keep this in perspective. It does matter, and it matters significantly. Like, it is life and death, and not just of a species, but of an entire ecosystem that supports literally everything else. So if you kill it, it's gonna kill everything else, and nothing else is gonna be able to survive. And then no more sushi for you. And by the way, like, we're eating Oxybenzone as well because, I mean, we'll get to that later, but it's bioaccumulated and biomagnified, and so it ends up in the fish that we eat. And it was found in the parts per million in some parts of the fish that we eat and from the grocery store. Anyways, it might not have actually been from the grocery store. I'm pretty sure it was a Spanish study, but I have to brush up on that as well. I'm not gonna tell you with 100% certainty that it was from the grocery store, but it was from a study, probably the Spanish study, that found oxybenzone in the parts per million in the tissues of mussels in fish that we eat. That I can say. So, solubility here. Very lipophilic. What does that mean? It's rapidly absorbed in the skin. The implications. It accumulates in your fat cells, and when it's excreted, it doesn't break down in water. What? Then, stability. Very photostable. Implications, it keeps its molecular structure unless it's broken down by something else, like metabolized inside of fat cells. And so it's stable throughout everything. Like the sun doesn't break it down, it breaks the sun down. And furthermore, it's phototoxic, so the adverse effects are exacerbated in light. So because it's creating a reaction whenever it interacts with the sun, absorbing and subsequently dispersing the radiation, adverse effects are exacerbated in light and it produces free radicals. So how do you feel about a sunscreen that is rapidly absorbed in your system, producing toxic endocrine disrupting results? And sure, it can be detected in your urine within 20 minutes, but I'm sure some of it accumulates in your fat cells and causes endocrine disruption, because look at what it does to literally every single other animal being studied. They all have the same effects. And what is that? All these effects. This is in part 3. Where there were high levels of oxybenzone, huge death rate, not reproducing, not growing back, aborted juvenile development, no recruitment of any species, behavioral changes, feminization, and changes in sex ratios 4 times more females than males. Does this sound like something safe to you? Something you'd want to put on your skin and be literally polluting the entire environment with? Because it can't be filtered out by wastewater treatment plants. So any oxybenzone that you put anywhere, it's going right back in the oceans. And actually, what happens is that when it goes into wastewater treatment plants, it usually emerges even more concentrated because they're unable to filter it out. So it's constantly just being recycled back into the system, and then we are putting more and more into the system because we keep using sunscreen. Now more people are using sunscreen, but they don't know that there's a type of sunscreen that you're not supposed to use, and that's the sunscreen with oxybenzone. So, and this is all around the world. So, how does oxybenzone react with the sun? Very photostable, doesn't break down in sunlight. It breaks down the sunlight. So sunlight plus oxybenzone causes a chemical reaction. And in this chemical reaction, oxybenzone absorbs and disperses UV and creates free radicals to allow for further reactions, just like its mother chemical. So, and it's very stable, so it's the exact properties that make it a good UV absorber that also make it endlessly toxic. Because also, how does it react with water? So it's very lipophilic, which means that it readily dissolves, which is fat-loving. I should have put that there. I think I put it somewhere else. So readily dissolves in lipids, fats, and ketones, and it's insoluble in water. It does not break down in water. It only breaks down in fat. So all the oxybenzone that you put in the water, it doesn't break down in the water. It gets absorbed by all the species that are in the water, and so the concentrations of oxybenzone are higher in the actual animals than in the water around them, because it's bioaccumulated and biomagnified up the food chain. And I'm pretty sure that I took it down when I was posting my my Why Every Country Should Ban Oxybenzone paper, but so, all right, I'll finish up that because that's important. But, okay, so here's the website, right? And you can find the Oxybenzone magazine by clicking there or typing in savethecorals.club/Oxybenzone. And then there's the Oxybenzone magazine. See, it's a pretty nice read, my friends. It's really not bad. It's very enlightening. It's not for me, it's for you. And for the corals. History of use. It's probably nicer. Oh yeah, I animated that. Oxybenzone. So because it's so lipophilic, it's rapidly absorbed, it's bioaccumulated, it stays in the system, and it's insoluble in water. And we started documenting the problem and putting the pieces together in 2001 when Schlump showed that oxybenzone is a potential endocrine disruptor. From there, it only became more clear. Oh, I hope it still animates it if I do it again. It's cool. Shucks, that was cool. But what happens when we put oxybenzone on our body? So immediately, some is absorbed, 4 to 10%. So it mimics estrogen. It acts as an endocrine disruptor. So, like, grand scheme of things, it acts like birth control, basically. But, so we break it down and excrete it, and it can be detected in the urine within 20 minutes. And, by the way, when it breaks down into things like BP1, which is 5 times as toxic as oxybenzone. So that's also bad. And I'm pretty sure that in that same video, I also said BP5, and I knew that it was wrong immediately when I said 5 times as toxic. I was like, no, it's not that. But another official correction, because we must be honest, mustn't we? Because that's just who we are. And very, very factual and precise. I'm extremely precise. I'm a numbers person. All right, so then some accumulates in your fat cells, and there bioaccumulates and disrupts estrogen and leads to various negative health consequences. But then when you go out into the sun, 1 in 4 people develop photocontact allergic reactions, which is like super bad sunburn like rashes. And that's because what it does is, as it absorbs sunlight, it creates chemical reactions on your skin and free radicals. So like that's the whole thing that you're trying to stop, is cancer and free radicals. And putting the sunscreen on is literally creating free radicals. So you're just making everything so much worse for yourself. Oh, I lost the animation. That's a cool one. So 2008, 25 years of oxybenzone use. What have we learned? This is 10 years ago. Rapidly absorbed, found in nearly all humans, that it's unsuitable for children. Gonzalez came out with a study in 2006 and found that it was unsuitable for children because children lack the enzymes to actually break it down. And it's a potential endocrine disruptor. Then we find out by 2018 here that it's a ubiquitous environmental contaminant and toxicant, that it's a universal endocrine disruptor, toxic to all species because it has bioaccumulation and biomagnification. It's phototoxic, causes photocontact dermatitis, has toxic byproducts, and a massive environmental and ecological impact. So that's why it's been banned in Hawaii, Palau, Key West, and it's under review by the FDA. And furthermore, a massive, massive clap and bowing to the FDA right now because they stepped up. And so the FDA now officially considers only zinc oxide and titanium dioxide to be GRACE, or generally recognized as safe and effective, for UV filters, and all of the chemical filters are under review in the United States. Which is really cool because the safety of them has not been reviewed in a very long time. And they're so toxic. So that's super awesome that it's happening. However, like I said in my previous videos, of which I will have to record like a massive AAD video, yes. But big money has really, really, really gotten in there and is really trying to suppress the truth about oxybenzone, and which is the biggest mistake, but whatever. And so that's why we are sharing it and making it understandable and actually readable, because this is how I was able to understand it. And as I was connecting the dots for 4 months, I was just absolutely just submerged in oxybenzone papers and like everything about oxybenzone, like all this stuff about oxybenzone. I mean, I've cleaned it up now because it was, well, you can also see like in my Instagram stories, but I was just like, it's crazy how everything is completely tied together, and only a few people have really put together the dots. That's in part 4. I'm very proud of this graphic. Isn't that cool? Shout out to Craig Downs. Oxybenzone is the greatest immediate threat to our coral reefs today. Corals are able to rebuild after global bleaching events. With oxybenzone, they can't recover. Actually, maybe I should just publish part 4 before I do. Oh, that's I'm just worried it's gonna take me a while because I'm such a perfectionist. Like, I'm not gonna post this, you know? Like, I have to actually make it all look pretty. Like so. See, like, that's kind of what it looked like before. And then I made it all pretty here. But let me know in the comments below if you just care about the information and I should just post the rough draft now and perfect it along the way. Not perfect, because perfect leads to never, but like something that I can be proud of, which I have very high standards, so like this I can be proud of. And Polly, our little Polly. Alrighty. Well, this video has been like an hour now, so I'm going to leave it at that for today. But I will have to tell you about what happened today and the amazing day that I had today tomorrow, and we can make tomorrow's life lesson about that and about actually going out and getting in touch with people. And I know that I did have something like that on St. Patrick's Day when it was trying to convince myself that going out was good, but that's a different going out. And, well, no, but the life lesson's gonna be different, and I thought about it. Because we learn lessons. I learned lots of lessons today, and so many like reinforced lessons, so this is already such a massive corals oxybenzone lesson for today that we'll save the other one for tomorrow. But thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, then that's amazing and I honor you. And comment below, even just like just say, go corals, or save the corals with an exclamation mark. And then I'll know that you watched till the end of this video, and I will love you and like be so happy. And anyways, so that is the big, massive thing that happened in the life today, or yesterday. Well, February 28th, like over a month ago now, actually. But oh yeah, I was still in Florida then. Anyways, but save the corals. How cool. So with that, I will say good night to you. Good night, my boo. Ba 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 da 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 dee doo. And thank you so much for watching. And shout out to Sherry. I love you so much, and thank you so much for our amazing lunch today. You are such an incredible person, and I love you like crazy, and so much love. But I shall see you soon. So, with that, everyone, I love you so much, and we will see you tomorrow on April 4th. Bye. Love you.